Hello there, and welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga Show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 906. That is 906, Nuevo Zero Seis of the Agostinho Zinga Show, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location, somewhere in the depths of East London. How you doing? How you feeling? How you doing? How you feeling? Great, good to hear, good to hear. How am I doing? All good in the hood, cannot complain, all good in the hood. Feeling a little bit tired, feeling a little bit sore. I did decide to do a little bit of a cardio session on the treadmill today, which I don't usually do. I prefer to run outdoors, but these days I've become a bit lazy to put the miles in on the streets, which I probably should do, to be honest. That's what I probably should be doing. I should be out there in the streets pounding pavement, but I've been a bit lazy, so I've been doing a lot of my sprints, a lot of my little 200-meter repeats, a lot of my 400-meter repeats, 800-meter repeats on the treadmill instead. And treadmills are a little bit weird in that regard because it doesn't really feel like you're doing anything. But today I kind of went a bit crazy. I had the speed up until like, I think 11 or 12 and shit. And I was cranking it up. I basically did 200-meter repeats like twice, you know, from starting from 5 all the way to basically 12, doing each level twice. And obviously, you know, it kind of batters my legs a lot more than I thought it would have. So I'm legitimately tired. When I came back, I ate like an absolute elephant. I chowed down a bunch of food, all showered up, all lubed up and shit, all nice and hydrated. But I'm feeling very sore. So it's the first time ever like a treadmill's actually kicked my ass. I feel like I get my ass kicked way more when I'm actually on the streets running and my feet are hitting the pavement. But I think it also helpful because usually when I'm on a treadmill, I wear my Hoka running shoes or my Hoka Ones. I forget every fucking pronounce that company. But today I wore very thin Metcons, so that might have helped to kind of like stress my muscles a lot more. Because when I've noticed when I'm wearing Metcons, when I'm wearing shoes with a zero drop midsole, not really thick running shoes, I notice that my form is way better because I'm way more conscious of not heel striking. I'm also running on the balls of my feet, so that takes a lot more effort to do, you know. And obviously I'd imagine probably causes your muscles to become a little more sore towards the end. It's obviously more optimal, but it just requires a lot more effort. So that was obviously the great thing to do going from there. But yeah, all in all, not feeling too bad. All in all flipping good. It helps, again, like I said previously, like I'm thankful for the gym that I go to because I was in a gulag for a long time going to this leisure center thing I was going to, which was good, don't get me wrong. It helped me out a lot. The time that I was at the leisure center, I could only afford leisure center anyway. You know, prices monthly was pretty cheap. I think it was like £14 a month or something stupid like that. Maybe £20. I don't know, wherever it was really cheap. The one I'm at now is like 40 quid or something. So back then, you know, that £20 felt like a lot, so it did good. But it was only open from like 6 in the morning. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, if you wanted to go after 5 p.m, you had to pay like for off-peak price, which is like a £5 pass. So it was never 24-hour. And with it being a leisure center, there was no fucking there was no air conditioning. It was just like a greenhouse. It was incredibly hot inside there. So the air was always thick with just like perspiration and moisture, you know. And this is like a hood leisure center, so people are coming in there a bit messed up, already going through their problems, maybe not bathed and shit, and they're already stinking up the place. It was a horrible place, really horrible place. In the summer especially, you kind of had to try a lot to go in there. So I'm happy now that I've got a place I go to that's a 24-hour place and it's air conditioning, and it's air conditioned, sorry. So it makes it way easier to work out in there in these type of weathers that we're having at the moment, where the sun is out and everyone's got their legs and tatters out as well. And talking about legs and tatters, God almighty, this is the season of hungry season. This is the season of the hungry eyes, sorry. Hungry eyes are everywhere. Hungry eyes are everywhere. And I have to be honest, it's actually quite fun. Today I walked through my kind of like area and stuff to do a little bit of groceries and shit after my gym session. And it was actually quite fun, I'm not gonna lie, to people watch, especially the dudes, and to see where their hungry eyes was going. Because all you had to do was look at a guy and kind of see where his eyes were going, and you could instantly spot what he was looking at, you know. And sometimes it was quite depressing. Sometimes you'd follow some guy's line of, you know, eyesight or wherever he was kind of looking at, and you see that he was staring at some, like, I must say, like teenager's bum or something, right? Some little girl with a really tight ponytail, you know, clearly like a child, right? And you're like, God almighty, uncle, man, like, please, like, raise your fucking gaze, man, like, allow it. This is a literal child. This person could be your actual granddaughter, like, allow it. You're not even uncle, you're like fucking granddad. But it's just in general, everyone's kind of getting the eyes. So, which I wonder, I wonder what girls feel like with that sort of stuff. I wonder how it feels to them, because I'm sure they noticed. I'm sure women notice in general when the sun's out that there's definitely an uptick in the amount of attention they get. You know, I wonder how they actually feel. What does it make them feel? Because it must be annoying, because in the summer you have probably different outfits you want to wear as a girl, I'd imagine, right? You got different wardrobe. Maybe it's a little bit more cutesy, it's a little bit this, a little bit that. But one thing is going to be, it's going to be way more revealing than what you wear in the winter, just because of the nature of the weather. Doesn't mean you have to be like naked. It's just going to be more revealing. And you know, but you know how guys are. When guys see a tiny bit of skin, right? Like, guys go crazy, me included, right? Just a tiny bit. It doesn't need to be anything. So I wonder if some women don't mind it, or if it gets on their nerves, or if some just completely ignore it and just kind of block it out and be like, you know what? I don't care. I got this cute dress I want to wear. I'm fucking wearing it. I don't care what the looks are. I'm just going to keep, you know what I mean? It is what it is. I'm just focused on what I'm focused on. I'm not focused on the male gaze. I don't know. But I'd assume, just thinking about it and speaking aloud, I would assume most women don't probably like it too much. Even though us guys are going to be like, oh, what, you know, it's not crying to look at someone that's good looking or something, you know, what am I meant to do? You know what I mean, I'm actually giving you a compliment. It's actually a nice thing, right? I'm sure some of us toxic males have that kind of thinking, but I'm sure for women, or you know, all over the place, it's probably not the nicest thing to kind of have people just staring into your soul, you know, undressing you with their eyes, right? Or like tracing your entire body with your eyes. It's like, ooh, you're feeling violated and shit. It's just hilarious, honestly. Today was the best for people watching that. I just saw so many dudes like just oogling. But to be fair, the area that I live in too, the girls here are like, you know what I mean? They're like, if you survive here as a lady, like, you can survive anywhere. They're tough, you know what I mean? They don't give a fuck. They don't play games, you know what I mean? Doesn't matter what race they are. The girls around this area, they don't play games. They don't get taken for chumps. Like, someone tries to like look at them and give them weird eyes, you're gonna get a fucking dirty look. You're gonna get like an audible like, ew. You're gonna get someone running across the street. You might get someone even saying, what are you looking at? You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get that. Like, the girls around here don't play, so I'm not worried for their safety. These girls are like, you know what I mean? These women around the ends I'm on there, and you know what I mean? They're thoroughbreds. They don't play no flipping games. But yeah. One thing I've noticed though, actually, outdoors as well, is the lack of air. Like, maybe I just notice it because it's hot and you're outdoors more. So I was just walking slowly. I had my bike. I had a bunch of grocery reviews. So I couldn't really cycle that much. And my legs were, you know, sore. So just walking around looking. I was like, one of the things that's really terrible about London in terms of urban planning or urban design is just the fact that there are no places to really sit. Like, especially the area that I live in, they did design these benches outside of the station that they had to remove because there was a lot of like alcoholics sitting there and just pissing and maybe shitting, but just sitting there the whole day. They'd sit there from like Friday all the way to Monday, just going crazy, drinking. And a lot of people kind of like complained, especially people that go into the office every day, right? And they eventually removed that whole entire bench. It was like a concrete bench. They just removed it. They just removed the whole thing. One time I was there, and those homeless, or no, they kind of look homeless, but they're not. I think they're just alcoholics. They had set up one of those like Sainsbury's barbecue things, or trays, and they kind of were cooking with it near the bench. And somebody, I don't know who, maybe someone from the station, maybe a Karen from the area, they called a fire brigade, you know? They called the fire brigade, and the fire brigade came down and it just sprayed the entire fucking bench where that fucking barbecue was, just whoosh, with that hose. It just blew the whole thing into the fucking air, and it just kept it moving. And then next time when I came back, the whole entire concrete bench was gone. So London, I feel like they don't make places where people can sit down and kind of chill in the summers or just in general, because they're afraid that they're going to be taken over by homeless people, or they're going to be taken over by drunks and drug addict people and shit, which is a real shame, because I think it kind of takes away from the fun of hanging out, you know? There's no places to go, which is why everyone in London is either in a beer garden, in a park somewhere, which always gets super full, or in a bar, you know? But I don't want to go inside. I want to be outside, but you can't really be outside. It's kind of the opposite of like places like, I don't know, in places like Barcelona, places like Madrid, places like Berlin and shit, where it's like, in the summer, like being outdoors is like the thing, you know. In the summers in fucking Berlin, for instance, everyone just sits along the lake. They've got that lake that kind of, you know, I don't know what it's called, but there's a lake that kind of passes through the entirety of Berlin, sort of thing. And most people just sit around there. They sit around the bridges that kind of go over the lake and shit. That's kind of a big thing. There's one in particular I can remember from back in the day where everyone kind of sits down on and kind of chills there. There's obviously loads of open air places to go to. But also I've also noticed a bunch of places, especially near me, and another place as well in London as well. There's quite a few actually, to be fair, and thinking about it now. There's a few Wetherspoons that have like beer gardens and they are rammed. Like the one next to me, when I was walking past, I was like, wow, I couldn't see a single table or chair that was free. Everything was taken up, which is kind of cool. That's good. But again, you have to be indoors. You have to go to a pub, you know? You can't just be in a random place. So it's a real shame, you know? It's a real shame that there's no places to congregate outdoors and just to chill in London, because everything's been kind of boarded up or like, you know, stopped to avoid homeless people and drunks getting on it. But it does take away from the experience. But I guess, you know, one of the good things is that you get to see people smile. You get to see people in a good mood, which you don't really generally see in London. People are just generally kind of sour, you know, sour-faced, screw-faced, just bemoaning the fact that they live in this fucking horrible city. But in the summer, this city comes alive, bro. People's moods really improve. People are literally saying good morning to you, like, which never really happens here. So it's super weird. People smile, nod, you know, compliment your outfit, your trainers or something, your haircut, like little things. You're like, rotted. Niggas actually notice that. People are actually noticing each other. There's love in the air. There's humanity in the air. Do you know what I mean? It's actually kind of cool. Which is why I've always said, I think, as expensive as the city is, as terrible as it is in general, I honestly do think if we had like, let's say 4 weeks, or let's say 6 weeks, if we had 6 weeks of genuine sun back to back, where we didn't have to ever think about taking a jacket out with you or an umbrella or a hoodie, because unfortunately in London nowadays there is no guaranteed sun. Like, it could be sunny today and then tomorrow it's fucking tornadoes and shit, and you always have to keep a fucking, you know, jacket in your bag just in case. Even if it's one of the hottest days ever in recorded history, you can't go out without something, unless you're like a, you know, a real hard nut from up north or something, or a northerner. Most of us southerners down here, we're kind of pussified, so we always kind of carry a jacket or a scarf or something with us. But I just think this country would benefit greatly if we had the ability to just have back-to-back summers, like back-to-back summer days, weeks, where you could kind of guarantee this is what you're going to get temperature-wise for 6 weeks, and the country's mood would improve drastically. But we don't. So people kind of, you know, bemoan summer. They kind of not look forward to it like I didn't last year, or they just kind of enjoy it as it comes about, and then they get depressed when winter comes around, so forth and so on. But yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. I've been enjoying it so far. Let's continue. I've really been enjoying also this Chris Brown story. I'm not gonna lie, this Chris Brown story is fucking fascinating. I'm sure some of you guys are aware of it already. Chris Brown has been arrested here in the UK because of a previous offense on assault he did on somebody in the early 2000s, I think. Oh no, maybe just last year actually, or 2023, whenever it was, right? He assaulted somebody here in London. He didn't cooperate with the police in terms of coming in for voluntary questioning. Then I guess a warrant was put out for his arrest. He didn't come back and deal with it before the tour. He then comes over to Europe to do a tour, and then during the European tour he gets arrested. Now, one of the really crazy things about this story that I've just learned, courtesy of Fesify, which is fucking wild, big up Fesify on YouTube, guess what? Allegedly the Sun is the reason why Chris Brown is arrested now. The reason why Chris Brown got arrested is the Sun. The Sun newspaper contacted the Metropolitan Police. This is something I didn't know happens in fucking media. So I guess to make their own story, they kind of contacted the Metropolitan Police and said, hey, this guy, shouldn't this guy be arrested for this thing that happened in 2023? And then the police went up to Manchester and arrested him. So he wasn't going to be arrested. The police had no idea he was here. Which, because I was thinking myself that maybe there's a system in place. There should be anyway, right? There should be a system in place at the fucking immigration when you come in to the country, when you arrive, where once your passport is scanned, if you have any open warrants or whatever on your thing, it should alert the police, right? Or whatever, to kind of arrest you. But allegedly, according to Fesify anyway, at least, the son of the one that contacted the Metropolitan Police, and at that time they had no plans of arresting him. When they did, they then went to arrest him. Absolutely insane. That's a weird twist in the whole story. But with that aside, as much as that's a bit fucked up and shit, it's still Chris Brown's fault, you know? He should have went in voluntarily and just dealt with the issue. He probably would have got away with a warning, or they probably would have given him a court date later on, but he definitely wouldn't have had to cancel his tour, because most likely he'll have to cancel this tour. They haven't said nothing just yet, because I'm sure they're probably trying to sort out the insurance and whatever else they can do. But or maybe there's actually a clause in his contract. Maybe they're smart. They put some sort of clause in the contract that would allow him to not pay any penalties or lose out on money if that happens. But this is kind of shaky, because if I'm not mistaken, I've actually read an article recently. No, it was a story courtesy of TMZ actually. TMZ published a story about Justin Bieber's finances. And it's pretty interesting to kind of just, you know, as a cursory look, because I think the whole hook on it is like, why did Justin Bieber sell his catalog for $200 million? I think he did that maybe a year ago or something, right? He sold his catalog when everyone, you know, a lot of these big artists are selling their music catalogs. And people are confused because, you know, he makes a lot of money off his music anyway as it is. Why would you sell it? Da, 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 da. And TMZ is alleging that Justin Bieber was broke before he sold that catalog, like he needed the money. And they're alleging that the big reason why he needed the money was because of fucked up accounting. Like maybe Scooter Braun, he's the agent before, was taking a lot of money, but also one of the reasons why he got into debt and he owed a lot of money was because he cancelled his tour, right? He cancelled his tour. When did he cancel it? I think it was that big tour that he cancelled that he said he suffered from dehydration or exhaustion or something. So he cancelled that tour and he owed whoever the tour person is, I don't know, AEG, whoever the company is, he owed them countless amounts of millions. And that, and then of course, Scooter Braun's company swept in and be like, "Hey, we'll sort that out for you." So they absorbed the debt, but then that meant he owed them the debt as well. You know, so this could end up having far-reaching consequences for Chris Brown. It couldn't just be the arrest; it could have a real financial, you know, implication. It could really financially impact him in a big way, because you'd imagine these tours, man. They invest a lot of money into it. So if you're gonna not be around or not be able to fulfill your dates, you're immediately in debt with them and you have to pay that debt off, and he's going to be on the back foot for a while. But let's read the article anyways, courtesy of the Mail Online. It says Chris Brown faces weeks behind bars and his European tour is thrown into chaos as he is remanded in custody over the claim he attacked a music producer in a bottle at a nightclub in London. Chris Brown's up-and-coming tour has been thrown into chaos after the singer was told he will be spending the next month on remand in Britain. Do you know how insane that is, by the way? Arriving to the UK in a private jet with all your friends and family, about to do a show, about to go on tour in the UK, probably got a bunch of press lined up, he might even jump on Filthy Fellas, he might be on one of these fucking big podcasts out there, he might even, who knows, he might have jumped on Realer Than Most, right? He's going to do a bunch of press, a bunch of media. He's probably going to do Chicken Shop Date and shit. He probably had some other TV show stuff lined up, other appearances. And then suddenly you get snatched up and you're in remand. You're in a fucking jail until the fucking court date comes up. It's absolutely insane. The American star due to begin his Breezy Bowl XX tour in Europe on June 8th in Amsterdam before playing in Hamburg. Also, he was here quite early. So I wonder if this had nothing to do with the tour then, because he says that he was due to begin it on the June 8th, and we're now what, 17th of May. So he wasn't even here for a tour. I wonder why he was here then, because that's quite a long time to sit around waiting for the tour to start. If it was meant to start on June 8th and he's here May 17th. I wonder what happened. I wonder why he was in Manchester in the first place. Brown 36 was also scheduled to play 10 dates for his fans in Britain and Ireland from next month, with the first of the dates being June 15th. But these plans are now in doubt after the singer was remanded. Oh yeah, because I think America, that's how American artists do it. Usually American artists, when they visit in the UK or the Europe in general, usually American artists will go to Europe first. They'll go to which makes more sense, like geographically, innit? If you come to America, you stop off here in the UK, do some press, but then you do your first tour date in the most eastern European country possible. So the most eastern possible. Maybe it's like Kazakhstan or something. Maybe it's Azerbaijan. Maybe it's Albania, Central Europe thing. And then you'll move inwards. You move towards the west. So then as you move in towards the east, your last stop before you go home will probably be London. So then you go to, like, let's say you do Albania, then you might do Germany, then you do Netherlands, then you do Scandinavia. I think you do parts of fucking Mediterranean. and then you'd come to the UK and do places like Scotland, or Great Britain and shit, and then you come down and do, London before you go home. So I think that's how it usually works. Before it was the other way around. I remember sometimes people would go to UK first and then to Europe. I think people do Europe, mainland Europe, and then go to UK, then go back home, which is a bit of a brutal schedule. It kind of explains why a lot of American artists don't come to the UK or don't tour, because that's a bit of a brutal schedule. Like, you're leaving, he's in the West Coast, so that flight is at 16 hours, even on a private jet. That's a big thing. 16 hours you're flying over, plus rehearsals. And I think Chris Brown shows are like, they're probably gonna be 2 hours minimum, performance wise, dancing all the time, fucking hanging from cables from the sky and shit. But anyway, he won't be hanging from no cables now, will he? But these plans are now in doubt after the singer is remanded in custody until June 13th. Greater Manchester Police arrested Brown on behalf of the Metropolitan Police after he flew into Manchester Airport. Brown was detained at a 5-star Lowry hotel in Manchester in the early hours of yesterday and then taken to police custody before being charged last night. By the way, they need to do that. I don't know if they have done that already, but that's another idea. Like, if I was a fucking reality TV executive, one of the ideas I would love to have, which I would never actually do, is to do a fucking reality TV show, documentary style thing about a really busy McDonald's in a metropolitan city. For instance, the one that I was thinking about was the McDonald's at Liverpool Street. Now, it's a little bit calm, but back in the day when the McDonald's Liverpool Street didn't have a lot of screens and it was mostly people you had to deal with in the tills. Now it's different because they got screens. But back when the Liverpool McDonald's didn't have screens and it was all just people on the tills, that place used to be chaos on like a Thursday to a Saturday night. So it'd be great to do a documentary, kind of fly on the wall about how crazy it gets in those type of places. Another thing that would be crazy would be to do a documentary reality TV show style thing about people who work in hotels, especially in central London, like those type of hotels, like where people coming from all over the world and the different type of characters that come in. But I guess the people that are going to be staying there would have a big problem having cameras roaming around the hotel. A lot of staff probably wouldn't want to be on camera, but I think you'd get a lot of interesting stories, a lot of interesting characters. A lot of fucking drama would be occurring on those things. There'd be a lot of things to see, but they're probably not going to ever do that. But that'd be cool if they did happen. Brown was detained at the 5-star Lowry Hotel. He then appeared in the dock at court in the afternoon over the incident, which allegedly happened in Tape nightclub in London's Mayfair in February 2023. The 10-date UK and Irish leg of Chris Brown's tour is scheduled to begin at the Co-op in Manchester on June 15th and conclude at the same venue in July 3rd. So I guess they can't. I guess they're hoping for a miracle in it, because I guess technically he can postpone those other dates and do the other ones. So I guess his team aren't trying to cancel anything just yet, because he could go to court on the 13th, right? What's he meant to go in court? He's meant to arrive in court on the 13th. So maybe he can go to court and get released. And if he gets released, he could just fulfill the dates and then, maybe make up the other ones later. So the possibility he could still make some money back, because everyone's, there's a lot of money on the line with sort of stuff. They can't just cancel it out of the way. But I was also thinking about London, Mayfair. And anyone that's been out in those type of areas will know this area is like a real kryptonite. It's a real fucking crazy place to go to if you're like a black person in general. They usually treat you terribly. Most places won't even let you in, even if you're wearing all the right things and shit. I remember seeing one particular clip of these girls, these kind of IG baddie kind of UK girls who went out somewhere in Mayfair and they tried to go to some like Mayfair club, Soho club, whatever. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a group of them and they're all dark-skinned girls and none of them got in. But then a group of light-skinned girls came up and they got in. A group of light-skinned girls came in, they got in. So those Central London clubs are not even, they don't just discriminate based on gender, because you feel, oh, it's only just boys. Nah, it's not just boys. They discriminate across the board. If you're black, they just don't want you in there. And it's usually really hard to take, because a lot of the bouncers in those places, a lot of the door guys are usually black guys too. Usually uncles, and they're the ones that are usually the worst as well. They're usually the most racist anyway, those type of people. There's a lot of self-hate there going on. They kind of remind me a little bit of the black people that you meet in Berlin, especially in places like Berghain. You meet these black guys in Berlin, Berghain, who are like, you know what I mean, they really give you some dirty looks, because they don't, they don't want you encroaching in their space. They want to be the only cool black guy within their little friend group and shit. Which is a bit sad really, because we're kind of all in this together, but sometimes those things happen. Let's continue. Oh yeah, and then there's this video actually, which is kind of wild. It shows Chris Brown leaving the court, heading over to fucking jail. So Chris Brown's actually in this fucking police car, this fucking meat wagon, I guess. You can't see him obviously because all the windows are boarded up. But could you imagine, like, this is your reality if you're Chris Brown? You're just in this car, just like on the way to a UK prison after he just flew in on a private plane. Fucking nuts.
As I sold the last bag, the round and got locked up.
Let me take off the music, but yeah, you see the car coming out from the underground parking at the court, or the lorry, whatever, where all the prisoners are usually in, heading over to the court. So can you imagine the guys on the wing? Could you imagine the guys on these prison wings, how crazy it's going to be? Like in the UK prisons lately have had some interesting situations going on where people have been released early because of overcrowding. There's been, you know, weird stuff happening, like loads of like UK drill rappers getting locked up and shit for crazy amounts of time and shit. People that scammed, all these type of things. But could you imagine the people in that prison randomly who aren't on social media or don't have a phone and just randomly see fucking Chris Brown coming on their wing, getting, you know, going through his induction? Could you imagine how insane that is? The amount of people in there probably asking for autographs, asking for selfies, probably making him sing. I wonder how he's going to deal with that. I wonder how Chris Brown's going to deal with people asking him to sing. I wonder if he's going to get into scraps. Because if he gets into a scrap in there, and he gets put on fucking punishment or some shit, or he gets locked up, or he gets more charges added, that's going to be crazy. But I wonder, it'd be interesting to see how he deals with like those type of requests about, you know, you're gonna sing for us, bruv. Like, sing a song for us. Record a video for my sister. I feel like we're gonna see that soon. I feel like we're gonna see a video of Chris Brown recording some video for some goon somewhere in some prison in the UK. It's gonna be fucking hilarious. Obviously, you know, hilarious for us, not so hilarious for him. He's also due to play at Villa Park in Birmingham, Tottenham Hotspur in London. There's also said to be a date in Ireland. After the final date, Manchester, July 3rd, he's due to play in Paris. Following the 3-week break, the tour is then rescheduled to restart in North America on July 30th before concluding Memphis in October 18th. But these plans have now been under threat due to the that's a long fucking tour, in it. He's touring all the way from June to July, taking a break, and then restarting in October in North America. God damn it, bro. That is a beast of a fucking tour. That is a beast of a tour. There's probably a lot of money on the line there. A lot of fucking money on the line. Jesus Christos. Fucking hell. Okay, fair play. Then on top of that, his friend is also being charged. It's another story again from the flipping Daily Mail. You know, out here fucking cancelling and ridding people of their careers and shit. A musician friend of Chris Brown has also been charged with grievous bodily harm with intent over the alleged nightclub assault. Dallas rapper and producer Omololu Akinlulu, 38, set to appear in court over the attack that happened in tape. So I guess he was the other person involved. By the way, that guy he's not really on social, I haven't seen, and he hasn't really been identified. I've never seen a picture of him, but I'm also curious to know what he did. Like, what did this producer, what did this promoter, what this person do at Tape nightclub that would make Chris Brown want to beat him up? Like, because I was saying the other day, like, this kind of proves that Chris Brown has some real anger issues, or he's a real goon. Because to come over to another country and to just get into fights with people in nightclubs, chase them down, like smash them over the head with a bottle, chase them down the street, like that's a bit much. I know we don't have guns and shit here, but we have people here that are like about that life. Like, you know, so it's a bit, you're running a risk by just randomly beating up people. You have no idea who they're connected with. Chris Brown's on smoke, man. But I wonder what that guy did. What did that guy do to make Chris Brown snap like that, or to make him go so crazy? Like, it's one thing smashing somebody in the head with a bottle, right? That's one thing. It's a bit aggressive, but that's one thing. Chasing them down the street and then beating them up again with your friend, rushing them. Like, what did this guy do? Akinlulu, known as HoodBaby or Hood Boss, is a close friend of Chris Brown's, and they have collaborated on tracks including No Such Thing, which released in 2020. Brown's, so I guess she's the muscle. I guess he might be the shooter, right? I guess it's this Chris Brown shooter, HoodBaby. Brown's up and coming tour was already thrown into chaos after the single was told he'd be spending a next month remanded in custody. The No Guidance singer is due to begin his Breezy Bowl XX tour in Europe on June 8th. But these plans are now in doubt after the single was remanded in custody on June 13th during an appearance of Manchester magistrates. Greater Manchester police arrested Brown on behalf of Akinlulu is said to have first met Brown when they played basketball in New York as a teenager, later reconnecting when he moved to LA. So I guess this is Drake's shooter, I'm assuming, this guy here, right? Dallas rapper, Hood Boss. And I guess he took part. He's reported to have spent 5 years as part of the entourage writing songs. Akin Lulu is known to write under different personas: Super Hood, Fat Leopard, and HoodBaby. At the time, he was also become close to rapper Lil Wayne. I'm funny, he explained, taken about his famous friend. The Dallas Observer said, I'm very entertaining. A lot of people don't know how to talk and shit. He will appear at Manchester Court today. At Manchester Magistrate Court yesterday, Chris Brown was flanked by 2 security guards in the dock after he walked in shortly wearing a black Nike tracksuit bottoms and black t-shirt. The singer gave his name and confirmed his date of birth. Brown watched intently as briefly details the case against him, which were outlined by prosecutors Hannah Nichols. Miss Nichols said the alleged victim has stood at the bar. Okay, so this is what happened. Miss Nichols said the alleged victim was stood at the bar of Tape nightclub in February 19, 2023, when the defendant launched an unprovoked attack in which the complaint was struck several times with a bottle. So that guy was just standing there waiting for his fucking espresso martini, and Chris Brown rocked up and just smashed him in the back of the head with a bottle. That doesn't sound likely to me. What happened, man? He must have did something. They must have known each other prior. He must have did something. There's no way you just walk up to somebody, just hit him in the head with a bottle out of the blue. Something happened. They don't want to say what happened, but it probably won't justify what Chris Brown did allegedly, but still, I need to know what happened. Because this sounds insane. He just like walking around bottling guys just out of just forever. The defendant then pursued him to a separate area of the nightclub where the victim was punched, kicked, and repeatedly by him and another, which I'm assuming is that hood boss guy. A bail application followed by Brown's barrister, which was denied. District Judge Joanne Hurst told Brown the alleged offence was a matter too serious to be dealt with at her court, so she sent him to London Southwark Court to plea and the trial's preparation hearing on June 13th at 10 a.m. Jesus Christ. Fucking wild, isn't it? Wild. Man was on a private jet a few hours ago, and now he's in fucking jail. Mad times. Mad times. Mad times. Moving on, talking about mad times. Big up this guy. Big up this absolute legend of a guy. I don't get these people, man. I really don't get these people. This is courtesy of The Sun. Brit drug sting. Brit dad, 33, caught with £2,000 worth of cocaine in Dubai, jailed for 40 years in a hellhole prison after police sting. I've always said, and I think this is just a rule across the board, like, you don't have to do whatever you do at home everywhere. It doesn't have to go everywhere. Like, sometimes you go to different places, different countries in the world, different places, different vacation destinations, holidays, whatever, and just do whatever the locals do. I don't know. I don't even drink wine. When I go to Paris, suddenly I'm drinking wine. Suddenly I'm smoking cigarettes, coughing a lot. I pay the price when I come back home. I'm coughing like a fucking loser, right? Clearly don't know how to smoke properly. But when I'm in Paris, I do as the Parisians do. You know? When you go different, like, I don't know, when you go Germany, you're drinking way more beer than you probably would do back at home. Whatever. You just kind of acclimatize to the location that you're at. But surely if you're going to places like Dubai, places in the Middle East, where they're very, 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 very strict about drugs and shit, just don't do them. Just have a different experience. I don't know, smoke your shisha. You know? Whatever they do there that's allowed, do that. But don't bring whatever party stuff you do back at home over there. You don't need to do that. Just do what they do over there. But some people just don't learn. But I also know, I would also assume anyway, because I've never been to Middle East, that most likely, even though they're very strict on drugs and shit, there's probably places, most likely behind closed doors, in hotels, in like mansions somewhere, you know, houses out of the way, where people get up to all sorts of manner of nonsense, right? Like from strip clubs to whorehouses to just orgies to drugs and shit. I'm sure that happens in places like that, just behind the scenes. But cool, if that's the case, do it with those people. Try and find those people to connect with and then do it, you know, with them. But I don't think you should be going there on your ones or just as a person and then try to bring whatever party shit you do in the UK over there and think it's going to work, because they'll lock your ass up, man. Allegedly, they're saying this guy's he's jailed for 40 years for 2K worth of coke. 40 years. That's an insane sentence. Like, how do you even get to that number? Dubai don't play, bro. Let's read the article. How do you even get to that number? What is 40? Why is it 40 for 22? Like, What would it have been if he had only £1,000 worth of coke on him? Would it have been 20 years? Like, how does that work out? How did they get to 40? That's amazing, man. What a mad sentence. A Brit that allegedly caught with cocaine in Dubai has been jailed for 40 years. Sam Dorman, 33, was arrested in a police sting this month. I don't know if he's a tattoo artist or a chef or something. I don't know what he's got his gloves on there, but let's see. The Brit dad, that's him there, covered in tattoos, driving a nice car somewhere, looking cool. There's another picture of him. I don't know if he maybe he fell down somewhere, maybe he fell off a bike or something. I think he's in the hospital somewhere, covered in things. He's said to have had half a gram on him when he was nicked. So what? Did they arrest him first, find a half a gram on him, and then because they found half a gram on him, they thought, okay, he's probably got more in the hotel room and went to his hotel room? Or was it all one big operation to get something from him because they knew he had something on him? I'm curious here. The cops understood to have found 28 grams of the Class A drug at his home. So he was definitely shotting, innit? He can't have been doing that all by himself. In the UK, that would have been worth 2,000, but it could fetch up to 3 times as much in UAE, which has, oh, okay, I see what there's going on here. So the UAE must be similar to places like Australia, because allegedly places like Australia, like drugs are like incredibly hard to get a hold of. And so if you can get a hold of them, they go for crazy amounts. So like, I don't know, 3 times whatever you pay for a gram of whatever drug, it goes for there in Australia. So I'd imagine in places like Dubai, if you can get a hold of the stuff, you can sell it for crazy amounts. So whatever is worth 2 grand might go into like being worth 20 grand, you know, because it's so hard to get a hold of. And because there's so little people doing it, you're probably going to sell most of it to one person or maybe 2. The dad of one, Dorman, a barber and a tattoo artist originally from Gossop in Derbies, was arrested last week and jailed for 40 years on Monday. God almighty. 40 years is insane. And you know what's insane about the sentence? They're not going to let him out a day earlier. They're going to let him out exactly on the day he's meant to be released. You know, that's because I don't think I've heard of somebody getting released early from a Dubai prison. I don't think I've heard it so far. People just get released. They just stop talking. There's no more media, no more press, and they just get released on the day you're meant to get released. There's no other day. Fucking wild. He is being held at the Al Awir Central Prison. In the Emirate, notorious for its squalid conditions, and violence. A source says he's got a young daughter in the UK, so serving 40 years is really sad. He won't be out till he's in his 70s. The prison's a hellhole, and Sam's family are understandably distraught. I'm sorry, but you should have thought about your daughter when you fucking smuggled 2k worth of coke into Dubai, mate. Maybe, innit? You should have probably had your daughter in mind when you were stuffing that shit in your pockets or in your bum, whatever, and maybe fought against it. This whole like, oh, but he has children. Why didn't you think of them before you did what you did? Don't cry now, bro. You did the crime, did the fucking time. It is what it is. 4 years is a bit diabolical. Don't get me wrong, but you know what you're dealing with in those countries. Like, you know how they don't play, basically. I about said you know how they play, but they don't actually play. When they spoke to him, it looked like he'd taken a battering. Oh, let's go back here. Where are you? There you go. When they spoke to him, it looked like he'd taken a battering. I just hope someone can help him. Dorman moved to Dubai in 2022 to start a business. He got in with the wrong crowd. Sam apparently sold coke to a customer who was pulled over and arrested by the police. Oh no, he got snitched on. He got snitched on. A source claims he got in with the wrong crowd. Sam reportedly sold coke to a customer who was pulled over and arrested by the police. They took his phone and messaged Sam pretending to be the buyer. Oh my God. And asked for more. Sam stupidly went and the police were waiting. Holy shit. This is like the EncroChat thing all over again. Allegedly, that big EncroChat sting that took down a bunch of dealers in Europe and that fundamentally changed the fucking, you know, the smuggling fucking business of drugs in general in Europe. I think I've watched a ton of documentaries about it. But if I'm not mistaken, the reason why they hacked quote unquote EncroChat was because one person they arrested had EncroChat open on their phone. They didn't really hack it. Like, they didn't actually hack it. Somebody had it open, and then from there they were able to access it, you know? But they didn't have access to it prior. So that's all it took. Jesus Christ, man. All it took for this guy to get nabbed was for the police to pretend it was their. It's like, bro, you gotta have some code words. There's gotta be some procedure to Dubai. You gotta be able to recognize how they type. Like, you gotta be able to recognize it, man. But LOL, the customer, like, fobbing in the guy straight away. The customer fobbed him in straight away. Probably heard, hey, if you don't fob this guy in, you're gonna also get, because Dubai is mad at that. I'd imagine Dubai, even if you have half a gram on you, they'll probably be like, you know what? We're gonna put you in for fucking 10 years. Or 5 years even, right? 0.5 grams equals 5 years. So he probably was like, you know what? He or she was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm snitching. The Foreign Office said we are supporting British man detained in Dubai. Dorman's family also have been approached for comment. To be fair, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair because that kid, remember that kid that got arrested? I think he's still in prison now. That kid was like 17 or 18 who got arrested in Dubai because he had sex with a girl that was also a teenager at the time. But it's not allowed over there, right? They had a consensual sexual experience, whatever, the two kids. But I think the girl's mum didn't like it, so she fucking snitched on the kid, and he ended up having to spend a year in prison in Dubai. Now, I think his offense is far less serious than this guy's offense, right? That's just like teenage love type of thing. Young people do young people things. Very irresponsible, don't get me wrong, but still, he probably doesn't deserve to be in prison for a year. Maybe spend some time in there for breaking the rules, but not one whole fucking year. But if this guy gets out before that kid, that's out of order. Because I mean, you were shotting. You were shotting over there and you thought shit was sweet and it wasn't after a while. It is what it is and you got caught. I don't think that should be grounds for him to get early release because he's a British man who has a child. But, sometimes when your face fits, your face fits. And I think that's it, right? Comment-wise, yeah. Jesus Christ, man. Honestly. I really don't get people. Like I said, I really don't understand people who try to take all their fun that they do at home overseas. I think it's really important. Like, when last time I went to Southeast Asia was like Bali many years ago. But places like that are really strict on drugs and shit. And, whatever. You don't even go there thinking about that. You go there thinking of like, hanging out on the beach, going for a fucking swim, getting your fucking tan on, going shopping maybe, eating a bunch, and doing whatever they do when it comes to extracurricular activity. If it's drinking, it's drinking. If it's smoking weed, it's smoking weed. Whatever they do at that, you do that. But there's no like focus on like, oh, I've got to make a party out of it. Like, not everywhere has to be a party or a rave. You don't have to go to, and not every location you have to go to, you have to fucking get on it. It's not necessary. And this guy's paying a big price for it. But honestly, going to Dubai to start a business and then ending up being shot in is crazy. Hopefully he was doing it at home. That's the real loser bit will be if he's just started shotting when he went there. Hopefully he was shotting when he was back home. Hopefully that was something he did on the side, whatever. Or he maybe was a big trapper back home. But if he went over there to start a legitimate business and then started shotting, that's some loser shit. In your like mid-30s, you suddenly become a drug dealer. Like, come on, man. People got to grow up, man. People got to grow up. But yeah, free him, I guess. Free him. He's not going to get free anytime soon. Mr. Sam Dorman, free him, but he's not going to be free anytime soon. Dubai don't play with their fucking sentencing anyway. If they say 40 years, it's 40 years, So he's going to be in there for fucking 40 years. But hold your head up, guy. Hold your head up. Next, we're going to talk about this courtesy of the BBC. This is another reason why the UK is bad vibes. I always say the UK is bad vibes, and this is the greatest example you're ever going to see of the UK being bad vibes. Look at that title courtesy of the BBC. Campaigner wins legal fight over park festivals. When they say when they use the word campaigner, right? That sounds like to me, one person, one Karen is somehow responsible for the cancellation of all festivals in one park. She's responsible for stopping everybody's fun. That's why the UK is bad vibes. Because one Karen is responsible for absolutely the gentrification of one area. Maybe the other neighbors don't really give a fuck. Maybe the other neighbors don't really care to be involved. Maybe some of them are actually a fan of the raves and shit, or a fan of the festivals when they come around. Then again, they only last for a few months. Usually very specific hours, usually never past 10 p.m. But still, this campaigner won a legal fight to end all park festivals. I think it's a Brockwell Park, if I'm not mistaken. Absolutely insane how that happens. Like that power imbalance is so weird to me. Why there's never like a middle ground. There's never a compromise. It's always just weighted entirely on the local residents, which I understand why. I get it, right? If you live around Brockwell Park, in the surrounding areas, and there was a time when there was probably no festivals there. then suddenly Brockwell Park becomes a location for festivals. And unfortunately, promoters are very like, they're very copycatty, isn't it? A lot of promoters and event organizers are not very original. So a lot of promoters will see someone else doing something, be like, oh shit, I'm going to do that too, right? So most likely that's what happened. Somebody just saw somebody else doing the festival or a rave at Brockwell Park. It went very well, and then suddenly everyone's doing it. And now suddenly you're inundated by festivals. But still, in London, we have very strict licensing laws and sound pollution laws and shit. So these festivals can't go that long anyway. They can only last until about 10, maybe 8, maybe, I don't know what time it is usually. And surrounding areas, they probably have police and whatever else getting people away from the place as well to kind of disperse so no one's loitering around. There's, like I mentioned at the start of the show, there's no benches anywhere to sit. Most of them are fucking, you know, divided with little separators or have little knobs on them to make them uncomfortable to sit on for a long time. So it's not like anyone can loiter and just hang around. Usually at most festivals, I think, apart from the staff, usually the main crowd disperses soon after the festival is finished. So it's not even like you're going to have a bunch of people being antisocial all around your house. So you have to deal with the noise for like a few hours and then it's kind of over. But for some reason, one person can determine whether or not a whole bunch of festivals go on. It's not even like a compromise of like, okay, cool, let's try and meet in the middle. Maybe we try and restrict the hours a little bit. Maybe this, maybe that. Maybe we, you know, install some sound insulation, temporary ones for the meantime or in your house so you're not too disturbed. Something. No, it's just, you know, it's either you do it or you don't, and if you don't, it's usually because of one campaign or one neighbor being annoyed. It's absolutely crazy how much power local residents have in these type of places. But let's read the article. Power and influence. The campaign has won a High Court challenge over the use of South London's park for music festivals. Lambeth Council has permitted Brockwell Park near Herne Hill to host a series of events such as Mighty Hoopla, which are expected to attract hundreds of thousands of people. Local resident Rebecca Shaman took legal action, arguing that the council did not have the correct planning permission, with a judge ruling in her favour. Rebecca Sharman is a legend, isn't it? She put her full name there, by the way. She's got a full name out and about there. She's probably getting so much abuse on social. I pray for her DMs. She's probably getting so much abuse on social. A Lambeth Council spokesperson said, "We're currently assessing the impact of this judgment and determining next steps." Ms. Sharman's argument centered around planning laws prohibiting a change of use of parks. Mrs. Sharman's argument centered around planning laws prohibiting a change of use of parks for more than 28 days each year without additional planning consent. Presiding over the case, Mr. Justice Mould found the parts of the park would be used for events for as many as 37 days. The judge said that the planning was only about the lawfulness of the council's decision to grant permission for additional days, a decision she described as irrational. Okay, so she was okay with them doing 28 days of festivals a year, but then when they went up to 37, she's like, you guys got to chill. So it's a different story. They're making it seem like she cancelled it because that makes sense though. But then I don't understand why they cancelled him. If she was fighting to stop it from being 37 days a year, why didn't it just reduce it back to 28? Why do all the festivals have to be cancelled? I guess, no, I think I've said it myself. I think I figured it out. I guess the 37 days where the festivals are going to get cancelled, not the other 28. So not all of them, I'm assuming. The judge said the ruling was only about the lawfulness of the council's decision. Ms. Sharma told the BBC London, "We're feeling elated. It's been a long time coming. It's regrettable we had to take Lambeth Council to court. It isn't what we wanted to do, but we felt were not engaging with us. This has been going on for years. It isn't a one-off situation. It's been a consistent deterioration of the park to the point where the community had to speak up to protect the park for future generations." Wow. You know what? I'm not mad at this, you know. I ain't mad at this. Part of me's not mad at this. I'm not sure if I'm growing up. Part of me's not mad at this because the parks in London, some of them are kind of really in a bad state of repair. The condition of some of the parks in London are it's really kind of depressing. Even more so when you pass by local parks and there's like no kids at them, right? Which makes sense because, you know, kids are on their phones or whatever else it may be, or on their laptops and shit at home, streaming and shit like I am. So it's, you know, that's what it is. But the parks that you do see available, or they do see that are open, are full of trash, are just in a poor state, grass all fucked up and shit, trees all fucked up and shit, gates all fucked up and shit, benches all fucked up and shit, right? That's just from people just not looking after them. I can't imagine the type of damage that us Brits could do to a park during a festival, because we're also not as much as I kind of bemoaned at the start of the show, the fact that London doesn't have a lot of places to chill during the summer, just to hang out in parks on benches and shit. We have to be honest too, we're not really good custodians of our our kind of local amenities or whatever, parks and shit. We're not good custodians. Because I think about Notting Hill Carnival. I think if Notting Hill Carnival doesn't have the big presence of police, big presence of cleaners, big presence of stewards, whatever they have, that after, like, if we were left to our own devices, if London just kind of said, hey, we kind of treat you guys like grown-ups who go to Notting Hill Carnival, you guys are going to be the ones to decide how you kind of clean up at the end, right? We're going to just treat you like grown-ups. We're going to assume you're going to throw stuff in the bin. If that was the case, the place would be a tip. We won't do it. I've seen those pictures of festivals after, where they take pictures of the festival after, and there's people just leaving tents, sleeping bags in places, tampons, condoms, underwear. People just don't take care of places at all. So yeah, I can understand this slightly. I can understand this if they're looking at it mostly in the angle of protecting a park. Shadi, we are hoping to come to an agreement where events can still continue, but on a much lower level and also more connected to the community. What? Okay, now this is where you're going out of the way. And a much lower level and connected. Why do they have to be connected to the community for? Why can't it just be like a festival that just do as a festival? Why does it have to be community orientated? Yes, I know it's hosted in a park, but the park can also be a location to do events at. Honestly, man, these people are so boring. Lawyers of Lambeth Council, our festival organizers summer events, both asked permission to challenge the decision, but the judge refused. So you can't challenge the decision. However, they are still able to ask the Court of Appeals permission to challenge the decision directly. I'm assuming that Rebecca woman is this one here in the black. I don't know why. Oh no, it isn't actually. It's this lady here. Rebecca Sharman, the one that actually got all the festivals locked off, is this lady there. This lady with the red trousers. Her DMs must be going crazy, bro. She's putting her face upright in central as a person who locked off all the festivals in Brockwell Park. What a brave woman, honestly. She's really brave for doing that. The Academy Award winning actor Sir Michael Rylance, who is a supporter of the campaign, described the ruling as a wonderful news. Emily in Brockwell Park told BBC, I think the result is brilliant. I've been going to the festival for many years now. However, the destruction of the park after is pretty bad. I really am pleased. No one, this place, honestly. Matt, who lived in the area for past 12 years, said, I'm really happy with the outcome because it's a win for local community who've been fighting crime for a while. However, local resident Lucy says, I think it's brilliant to bring festivals to Brockwell Park. I think it's a great celebration of culture. We need to give opportunities to young people. We need to keep art alive. Exactly. And also, it's just music for the summer. Like, honestly, it's summertime. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know some people don't like it, but you're going to hear more people in cars blaring music. You're going to hear people more in the street with fucking, Bluetooth speakers on, singing, dancing and shit. It's the summer. Like, how can you be that miserable? It's the fucking summer. Get over it. And then it's over, by the way. Then you can reclaim your park. Then the park is yours again. It doesn't even last that long. Summer's not even that long here in the UK. Like, it's such a bizarre thing. It's not like they take up the whole park either. It's like usually it's one kind of area that they kind of take over, and that's basically it. It's usually cordoned off, sorry. Like, I don't know, but I'd imagine as well living there day to day and seeing the condition the park gets in. Opening your window and smelling all the piss from people pissing all down the streets next to your car. That could probably be a bit of a madness. Vomiting all over your fucking garden and shit. Yeah, I get, but I don't know. Then move in and go somewhere else, I guess, isn't it? There's people living in London and want it to be like Devon and shit. It's fucking crazy. Richard Harwood, KC for Sharmans, has argued that Brockwell Park had increasingly been used for large commercial events in recent years, with substantial parts of the park being fenced off for the public during the events, with damage caused to the ground. But that's hold on. So they are saying that festivals fencing off areas isn't fair or something. That's a festival though. How else are they meant to do it? They're meant to keep it open. You're not meant to fence off areas during the festival. Due to the inclement weather over the fucking weekend, one of the commercial events, the park effectively became a mud bath. So that's what happens during the festival, bro. Sandstorm, mud baths, that's it. Matthew Reid, KC for Lambeth Council, said the majority of the park remained unfenced and available for the public. Exactly. He also said that the council was able to lawfully decide how often the park was used and festivals were granted special permission if needed. However, Mr. Justice Mould found that in this ruling, Lambeth Council planning officer had erred in taking into account the mere prospect of planning permission being granted. The Protect Brockwell Park group has previously said it's not an anti-festival and supports well-run, inclusive event. Yeah, they are anti-festival. Honestly, stand on your shit, bro. Say it with your chest. You got the whole fucking season of festivals cancelled in Brockwell Park, but you're not anti-festival. You want well-run, inclusive events, which basically means they want to be involved. That's what they're basically saying. They're saying that we're not involved and we want to be involved, which I guess, you know, I get, but come on, let's be real. Let's be real. The group said in a statement, these large-scale, high-impact commercial festivals are damaging Brockwell Park ecology, heritage, and community. So you can't have festivals in parks. You can't have clubs in areas as well because residents complain about it. Where are you meant to enjoy this music? You can't do it outside. You can't do it indoors. Where are you meant to do it? Where are you meant to do it? Please, someone tell me. Like, I do not understand. Gentrification is one of the most weirdest things to kind of get your head around, because when one person who lives in these areas tells you about the horrors that they encounter living in an area like Dawson during its peak and how crazy that was, how many people piss all over your doors and vomit all over your streets and shit, I get it. But then the other side of things, they just lock off all of the clubs. They just, you know, cancel all the fucking late licenses, require you to have a special license to even open a bar or a club and shit. So it just completely, you know, destroy that industry. Cool, you appease the neighbors and shit. But then what happens to the people that want to do that stuff? What happens to people that enjoy going on nights out to clubs and shit? What can they do? Cool, we found this other thing where we have these day parties, right? We have these kind of like unfold where you start from 12 all the way to 12. Even those are coming down because some places are complaining about them. So they don't like the 12 to 12 events. Printworks closes down. You don't want people to be doing festivals outdoors in the parks and shit. Like, where else are we meant to go? Like, I really don't get it. It's going to get to a point where the UK is going to turn into a place where people just like go from here to places in Europe to go and rave. They go to mainland Europe to go and rave. If they want to have get their raving you know, kicks, they book a flight to Ibiza, they book a flight to Berlin, other places, Amsterdam and shit. They have their fun there and they come back. Because these places just, you know, for whatever reason, the UK and neighbors and shit, they just don't like fun. They really don't like fun. They really, really, really don't like fun. It's strange. I hate it personally. Like, I want to see a compromise. That's what I want to see. I understand what neighbors and residents feel like. I get it. I kind of understand their point of why they hate these things. But there has to be a compromise. There has to be some way we can meet each other in the middle, where it's not just like all weighted on the side of the residents and they get the final say in every decision. Like they get to fucking change fundamentally licensing laws. They get to kind of close down entire industries, entire clubs, shut down entire strips, entire streets, shut down entire festival seasons. Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, one person complains and they shut everything down. Like, wow, that power is fucking wild, man. Curse your enemy. Warning of devastating blow to London's culture after campaigners win a court case deeming Wide Awake, Mighty Hoopla and more must be cancelled. A warning for devastating blow London culture has been made after the campaigns won a court case that deems Wide Awake, Mighty Hoopla and must be cancelled. Last month, it was reported that local residents began crowdfunding for legal action against music festivals held in Brockwell Park that they claim were unlawful. The summer festivals happening in the park included Wide Awake, Mighty Hoopla and Field Day, Cross Tax and City Splash. You know what's really funny, by the way? If I'm not mistaken, Field Day in Brockwell Park has been known. I'm not too sure if that's the same park. I'm not sure if that's the new one, but I remember I've never been to Field Day, but I remember back in the day when Field Day started, one of the major complaints about Field Day was the fact that the sound was always terrible. That was a major complaint about Field Day. The sound is garbage. It's so fucking low. It's so low. You have to get right to the front to hear anything. It's super shit. I wonder if that's the same park, because that's hilarious, by the way. Imagine if that's the same park. If that's the same park, they purposely go out their way to lower the volume, to limit how high the volume can go, to appease the neighbors. That's still not good enough. So now they're going to just lock off the entire festivals. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, neighbor. The dispute appears to be surrounding how long the park is closed off to the general public. The council granted a special certificate of lawful development to Brockwell Park, an events company that allows for temporary change of use of the space that doesn't require planning permission for a total of 28 days a year. That's obviously to make it easy to kind of set up and close down, I'm assuming. However, the residents group argued that the council had not taken into account the additional time the park is fenced off during the construction and dispensing of the site, which they claimed led the park to be off limits to local residents for 30. That's not true. The whole park isn't off limits. It's sections of the park. Surely it's sections. It can't be the whole park. Oh my, Rebecca Sharman. Rebecca Sharman took action to protect the park against the council over the dispute. A leaked letter published by Bricks and Buzz, written by solicitors representing Protect the Park, claims that the council had been told no Brooklyn events can go ahead. And as there has been no planning permission for Brockwell Park's events, the events has to be cancelled. The letter writes, also along the members is actor Mark Rylance. However, the Nighttime Association has warned that the ruling could lead to devastating blows for London's culture that will directly impact thousands of people. The supply chain from staging, lighting and companies to local food and drink vendors would suffer greatly heavy loss. Actually, no, I'm curious to see, what do the comments on Protect Brockwell Park Instagram say? I'm curious to see what their comment section's like. Are the people agreeing with them? People kind of fighting against it? What do they say here? This is it, right? We won. Let's see. We won, and not one rich festival amongst us, just a bunch of people who want to protect the park. What do the comments say here? Let's see what the comments say. The comments on Protect_Brockwell_Park. One person says here, congratulations, a win well deserved. Another person here said, it's unbelievable. I'm really disappointed by the decision as a local resident. Only a portion of Brockwell Park is being closed, and the rest remains open for residents to use. Events like this bring energy to the borough, attract visitors, boost the local economy by driving business to shops, cafes and restaurants. They also create jobs, supporting artists and vendors. Beyond the economic benefits, festivals foster a sense of community, cultural expression, and offer residents a unique entertainment. Exactly. And it's, even if you don't like them, I'm sorry, you live in a fucking city. You live in a city, multicultural country, a multicultural city as well at that. You have to grin and bear it. You have to grin and fucking bear it. It's for a couple of fucking months during the summer. It's not that deep. Grin and bear it. But yeah, let's see some of the replies. Big up this person. That's a really good comment actually. What do some of the replies say? Do they agree with her person or not? Let's see what the replies say. The replies say, hello, Glasgow is a huge farm in the countryside. The two are not comparable at all. Brockwell is a green space in the capital city, providing some reprieve for locals, some of whom can't afford to go abroad or even coast. People don't want to lose that. Yeah, but they still, you have to share, bro. So what? The park is only for local residents that are just chilling. The park can't be used for other events because you have to also imagine, I think the uptick in festivals in this country, there's actually a direct correlation between the clubs closing. The only reason why we have so many festivals here in London, especially in recent years, because there's so many clubs are closing. That the club infrastructure is basically gone. So a way to kind of circumnavigate that is to do the whole 12 to 12 shit that people do, or to do festivals. That's the reason why they're so here. So if we had clubs, there wouldn't be so much strain and stress and demand put on these parks. But the fact that we're not in that situation, we have to share these spaces. And these spaces are being caught. It's not even like they're taking over the whole park. They're taking over a section of the park. And not even taking it over, they're just temporarily using it, calling it off for one bit, and then when it's over, it's over. Mamma mia, these people. Another person says here, absolutely disagree. Perhaps it would be worth going and talking to local business owners and who quickly realize they get nothing out of this scale of event. Have you actually seen the park? No, that's not true. They do get an uptick in customers. Come on. Even a good example I'm going to use as the area where Fold is. In like Canning Town, like I was basically brought up there, my parents still live there and shit, and I know that local area has been booming because of the club opening. There's other clubs opening next to them. There's shops open around the corner next to Canning Town station and shit. I'm sure the cafes around there, I've seen an uptick in customers coming in hungover after Unfold or whatever else it is, wanting to have a fry up and shit. They all notice a big uptick, a big buzz. Even the area that I'm in, there was a time where we had a little club opening. Even on that strip, the off licenses will be getting way more business. People will be popping out to get cigarettes, popping out to get little drinks and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Yes, you might have to put up with way more antisocial behavior. I might be a bit more loud in the evenings, but come on, man, suck it up. Another person says here, no, let's continue what that lady said. She says, they get nothing out of it. Have they actually seen the park after the event last year? Completely ruined and has not recovered from it since. Yet they planned even longer festival for this year. It's actually unbelievable not to be in favor. Another person here says, I live right next to the park and it brings absolutely nothing to the area. The money made is never seen. It's bad for local business. Why is it bad for local business though? Are they trying to say people just get funneled in and out? Is that what they're saying? People don't loiter around. People don't go to clubs. People don't go to like shops to get drinks or pubs and shit around the area. They just kind of get funneled into the festival and then funneled out. Because I'm assuming festivals also don't let you come in and out, so you just have to stay in there and drink and whatever you're doing there. So a lot of the money doesn't really go. I wonder why they're saying it doesn't see any money, or they're just being hyperbolic. The noise pollution is insane, and the wildlife is being compromised by the park itself. It's a huge area that is blocked off, and if you live in Dulwich Road area or roadside, then your park is now just a fence unless you walk halfway around it. The ground didn't recover all last year, and the residents hate it. Get nothing but rubbish tip at the end. Brockwell Park is for the local community and for the swans, mate. Brockwell Park is for the local community and the swans. But the local community can also include festivals, can't it? Why does it have to only include the local community that live locally around it? Can't it include everyone that lives in fucking London? Wait, what can I know? I'm in agreement with the lots of points raised. However, I think the big question here is, what is a compromise? That's the big word. Why don't we ever compromise? Why is it always in favor of residents? Is the future after this result no live music events in the park? If so, how do we improve the experience for the area? The money's never seen. You can't go into the park very often. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Caroline Wood. Who's he responding to? Who's that guy responding? Let's see this person. Caroline Wood. What's she say here? Do you have any concerns about the impact of the music industry cancelling planned festivals? Wide Awake has made amazing varied events. Generally interested in your views. Very good question. It's definitely a concern. Has been for a very long time, with so many venues and grassroots spaces disappearing. There's no doubt that spaces for music need to be protected, but I think the concept of using community spaces for this type of private events needs to be reconsidered for so many reasons. I've been to Lambeth Country Show for my entire life. I love it. Generally brings the community together. I'll be devastated to see it go, but this has to go out of this got out of hand with the number of events and the length of time the park is being fenced. The impact of the park and the usability for the local residents. It's important green space for the community. So I guess they're trying to say that the whoever did the licensing was got a little bit too greedy and started doing way too many festival events there. They were okay. They were just about tolerable. They were just about tolerating the 27 days it was closed off. When it went to 37, they got really angry. But then they just locked off all the festivals. That's what I don't like. There has to be a little bit of a compromise there. It's genuine hell for some people I know that live in the flats opposite, and the wildlife park really suffers. The main problem is the length of time the events go on for, with setup and D-rig, I think. This complex issue that we just need to find balance. Yeah, but the balance isn't just cancelling everything, innit? God damn it, these people. Anyway, there's somebody else here. Congratulations, use the park is a tax to locals. Lambeth Council. Congratulations, thank you for one and all. Well done. Shit. Okay. Most people, but then if I'm not mistaken, don't people in the countryside also complain about festivals? I'm sure I've heard of people that live in countrysides where they have festivals, especially illegal ones, but just even whatever, they also complain about the conditions the festivals get, about the condition the festivals leave their grounds in and shit. So there's no winning, really. There's no winning in this situation. Everyone complains. They just want all the spaces to be left alone. I guess so, man. About 50 of you who, because you organize well, can overcome the happiness and will be hundreds of people, not to mention well, whoever is unhappy about this outcome should complain to Lambeth for trying to put together such a massive series of events without the right planning permission. You should also see who's behind these events. KKKR is one of the investors, for example, and so still you want the public space used by these people. Okay, I guess. But yeah, big up those guys, I guess. Big up those guys. Protect our parks. They protected it. Now the festivals are gone. Gone. Moving on. I want to talk about this post courtesy of the Dance Floor subreddit. I mentioned before how much of a fan I am of Dance Floor subreddit. This is a post. I think this guy is American. I'm sure of it from his accent, from what I've been able to check. But this, I think, is regarding the Brooklyn Mirage fiasco. So if you guys know, there's a club in New York called Brooklyn Mirage that had gone for a refurbishment. And they had like a huge lineup of events happening in this summer all the way until the fucking winter and shit, locked in. But I guess the refurbishments haven't gone to plan, and they've had to cancel a bunch of events. And or they haven't been as, the refurbishments haven't gone as quickly as they would have hoped to have gone. And now they have to cancel a bunch of events. And a lot of people are really upset, especially New York kind of scene. People are really, really upset about this because a lot of the events were with a lot of kind of like, well-known DJs and shit. And they're really looking forward to these events, and now they're all being locked off super last minute and shit. So this person is talking about maybe the reasons, the delays that have been due to the Brooklyn Mirage not reopening, with it maybe being too overproduced, that they try to do too much with the club, which is what's causing the delays. And really, you know, there's not necessary to do all that much with the club. Just create a good experience. Don't need to have too many bells and whistles. So let's see what this person says about this, and I'm going to react to it as we play the video.
The whole Brooklyn Mirage fiasco has me thinking a lot about like raves and production and what makes a good party, because they spent all that time making the new Brooklyn Mirage with all these bells and whistles, but who asked for the bells and whistles?
To be fair, I did see the picture of it and it looks fucking amazing. Well, the idea that they had for it, like I don't know if they've got it up on here on the Google, but the Brooklyn Mirage idea behind it, Brooklyn Mirage renovation plans. If they actually did do it, it would have been amazing. If they did do it in time, it would have looked super cool. But it didn't actually go down time. But from what I see, right? So let's see what the AI says here. The Brooklyn Mirage is undergoing a major renovation. Will reopen in May 1st, which obviously hasn't reopened yet. With redesigned space that includes a monumental timber structure, expanded dance floor, enhanced safety measures. The venue is being reimagined as an electronic opera house with 270-degree virtual environment, kinetic shutters, and custom-built speakers. Right? I personally think that sounds really exciting, because I think in general, club design, dance floor designs are just pretty basic and shitty. But I actually really did fuck with this design that they were trying to go for. Very adventurous, right? Very adventurous, but I don't know. That looks really cool to me, bro. That stage design, that design for the dance floor looks fucking incredible. With these fucking balcony things on the edge, that looks really fucking cool. And I guess this back bit here is probably LED screens that you could get different projections on. This looks like it's open air. Maybe the roof retracts after, you know, if it starts to rain, maybe the roof retracts and it lets in light, or it has LEDs here too. So the actual idea behind it is pretty fucking cool. It's just a shame they couldn't pull it off in time, but I think it looks really cool personally. I'm not gonna lie, I think it looks really fucking cool. So the idea behind it was actually pretty decent, but you know, it didn't go as planned in terms of actually getting it done.
Okay, you know what I look for in a dance music event? I look for good music, good sound, so you can listen to the good music. And I think that if those two things exist, oftentimes the crowd is quite good. So then I just need room to dance and a drink that costs me less than $18.
I don't think so. I don't think good sound and good thing just attract a good crowd. The crowd has to be almost cultivated. The crowd might be more important than the actual design of the space, to be fair. And it's really difficult to do. And I imagine places like in America, or I don't know. I'd imagine places like America, personally, with how they are with money and shit, they probably don't respond well. They probably wouldn't respond too well to door picking, innit? Because I'm thinking about actually, one of those girls that went viral actually from America, yeah, they were. I think they might be from New York. Those girls that went viral a few years ago that were like complaining about not getting let into the basement and talking about, oh my god, like all my friends, look how multicultural we are, I can't believe this, of being really pissed off. And they all looked really white, even though she was saying they were kind of Jewish or some shit. I forgot what it was. But I think a lot of Americans probably won't respond well to door picking, but door picking is really the only way you can kind of cultivate a really good community and shit and kind of keep things on the whatever. But I don't think it's a problem to try and be adventurous and try and maybe push the boundaries and actually try something new and fresh when it comes to the design of a club. Because that also adds to the experience. Like if they were able to pull off the renderings that we just saw, that club would have been pretty sick. If they were able to pull it off in time with the different types of artists that are going to be booked over, you know, that would have been booked there, it would have been a pretty cool spectacle. It didn't work out in the end, but I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to do something a bit more adventurous and not just going for the standard fucking, you know, warehouse space vibes, whatever else, exposed bricks type of sort of thing. Like just trying to make it look a little bit more fancy, try to make it more of an experience, try to make it more of a thing to kind of, kind of gawk at and shit. And maybe that will kind of help with the overall experience of raving. There's nothing wrong with that personally. Maybe I'm singing from the wrong position. I don't know.
I don't know about everybody. I don't need floor to ceiling LED screens to have fun. I don't need lasers that hit the back of my skull. I don't need Medusa banging on the spheres that my friend over there has an ego death and has to go home mid-rave. We have lost the plot and the...
That's fair. That's fair. You don't need those things, but it does add to it. And I think, to be fair, there are more clubs that are basic, just rectangle, square rooms, that dark walls, huge speaker stacks, and DJ booths you know, in the corner or whatever, in the back or whatever. That's what most clubs are like, right? There are some that have LEDs and shit and smoke machines and all this malarkey, but most clubs are quite bare bones. So if you do make a club and design one that's a little bit more adventurous and has a more, you know, has some more like sparkle around it, I think you should be like, I won't say rewarded, congratulated, but I think you should be given the benefit of the doubt and better grace that you're trying to do something different. It's annoying because they guys live there and they're in the local community and they want to go to type of events, but I don't think you should be punished for trying to do something or ridiculed for trying to push the envelope a little bit.
Programming at these events is getting worse. The production is moving up to try and compensate for it. Girl, I didn't ask for fire. I asked for water in a bottle for free, preferably.
That's a good point. I'm not gonna lie, that's a good point. That's a good point. You're doing all of this stuff, but then you can't get free bottle refills, you know? Or you have like, you know, not enough toilets. Or like you said before, the drinks, you know, drinks are like 30 quid for like, or $30 for like a mixer. That's a bit crazy. That's a bit nuts. I get that. But to be fair as well to these places, if the amount of money they're spending on a refurb, you know, they're gonna have to claw those costs back, especially with these cancelled events. So the drink prices are always gonna be high in a place like that.
Don't want any whistles, and the only bells should be by Jeff Mills. Capiche?
That's funny. I don't know. I get where they're coming from. I understand where this person's coming from. Big up Griffin, Max, Brooks. But I don't know, man. I don't think they should be punished for trying. It didn't work out. Maybe the promoters, maybe the owner made a lot of false promises. Maybe there was a lot of bravado, ego involved in it. Maybe there's a hint of Fire Festival-ish about this whole thing about, you know, selling people dreams and shit. And maybe a lot of people, because I think I saw in the NYC rave section, a lot of people were basically calling this out from the beginning, saying that it was never going to get done on time. I think I saw some people actually in the New York City rave subreddit basically driving past the Mirage location and taking pictures of the building site saying this is not going to open on time and it's impossible. And obviously on Reddit, there's always somebody on there who kind of knows somebody that works in the industry or is like a contractor and shit. Who are like, yeah, look, I work in this industry. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way they're going to complete the renderings or get anywhere close to it in the time frame that they said. So I think for a lot of people who bought tickets in advance, it's disappointing, especially in a place like America. I'm assuming a lot of these artists, especially European ones, probably don't maybe tour there as often. You're going to be hella disappointed if this thing you've been looking forward to for time gets postponed or cancelled lastminute.com. Like, I think a Sarah Landry event actually was meant to kick off over there, and that got cancelled lastminute.com. And people were really upset about that as well. So even though Sarah Landry sorted people out, by the way, which, you know, that the more and more I hear about Sarah Landry, like, except for the music, I'm not really the big fan of what she does music wise, and, you know, DJing's not for me. But the more I hear of her, she sounds like a real good person. Like, I think I saw a post of her basically going out of way to say, hey, if you bought tickets to this event, you're gonna get refunded. You could swap them for another event I'm doing. She basically, like, you know, lastminute.com organized another location to do the event that she's meant to do at fucking Mirage somewhere else and shit. And judging by the pictures I saw online, people seem to have a good time. So she seems to be a really decent person. But I can get the frustration. I can really get the frustration. But I think a lot of this can't be blamed on the owners for trying to do a thing. It's not a bad thing to trying. I wouldn't really blame them for trying. And then a quick way to move on to this is show you this before we leave regarding the Tom Sachs Mars Yard 3.0s. I've mentioned this previously before, how much I'm on them, how much I want them after owning the first pairs, which are the 2.0s I think I had. And I literally blew a hole through mine. I wore my Tom Sachs Mars Yards for 2.0s all the way until I blew holes into the side of the shoes. I wore them into the ground and I loved them. Every minute of wearing them, every minute of owning them. But this time around, when I do purchase this pair, the 3.0s, I'm going to definitely try and double up, so at least I have one fresh pair there ready to go, because I really wish I had that, because nowadays StockX prices on these are crazy. The 2.0s, I think they go for like £5,000 or something, so, you know, that's not happening anytime soon. Imagine spending £5,000 on a pair of fucking Nike shoes. That's just not gonna happen. I'm not doing that. But now that Tom Sachs is back in the good graces of Nike and working with them again after the kind of fallout he had because of the toxic work environment thing, which I still don't understand what the big kerfuffle was about that. Like, I'm shocked people were surprised that Tom Sachs runs a tight ship or sounds like a bit of an arsehole to work for. He comes across like a real prick, a real cunt to work for. You know, I'm surprised people are surprised. He comes across like that in the videos. of how he runs his studio, of how his principles of design and shit. He comes across like a bit of a hard ass. So I wasn't surprised that he might have, you know, I don't know, crossed the line a couple of times when it comes to workplace conduct, especially because he runs a studio and he feels like he can kind of do what the fuck he wants. But I never thought it was serious enough that it would warrant him to have his Nike deal completely cancelled forever. They put him on the, you know, they put him on a timeout, and then I think later on, because, you know, the stocks are down and shit, like, you know what, come back, brother. So now he's back and he's going to be launching the 3.0 soon. Updated basically. From what I'm seeing on them, I think the midsole is a bit different as well from the ones that I had. They've added this like little white, I think it's a just clear shield towards the back of the mudguard. There's a extra sort of rubberized front towards the tip, which I'm assuming is to ensure that you don't fucking stub your toes when you're walking around in the studio and shit. They don't have a completely rubberized toe at the front, which I think the other samples did have, that covered the whole entire front. So it was a lot more, it's kind of like a mimic to steel toe boot. It's kind of, you know, stop your toes from getting hurt if you dropped a hammer or a screwdriver or whatever on top of it. You got the mesh upper. On my ones, if I'm not mistaken, I think I had the swoosh wasn't printed. Was it printed? I'm not too sure if it was printed. I forgot. I'm not too sure if it was printed. Let me actually check. Let me actually go on my blog and see if I can check. Is it default goon, right? Yeah, there you go. I should get it here. There you go. This is my pair from 2000 and what? Okay, yeah. So okay, yeah. I'm about to say, because my pair, the swoosh wasn't printed. This is my pair that I absolutely beat up, right? So this is my pair from back in the day. When did I post this? 2017. God damn it, bro. I had these a long time ago. So this is my pair. And if you can see from the 2.0s I had, the swoosh is like actually a swoosh kind of cut out like a red material. But in the new updated version, the swoosh is printed. It's more of a printed swoosh. And I can't lie. I kind of don't mind this one actually. It doesn't look as cool, don't get me wrong, but I don't mind the swoosh, the printed swoosh here. I don't really actually mind that too much. It actually looks pretty cool. They've changed, I think, some of the materials on the brown bits, the brown accents of the actual shoe itself, if I'm not mistaken. I think they've changed some materials on there. That looks more like a softer suede. Mine they look a lot more nubucky. The mesh is also a lot more loose, I feel like, on mine. And I think the mesh on this one is a lot more tighter. So it probably won't flap around as much. I wonder if it's also protected here. Maybe there's some sort of lining underneath this, so it stops being see-through. There's also, the tips are rounded on those. Are mine rounded too? Tubular, yeah, tubular laces, but my tubular laces were a little bit more flat on the ones I had on 2.0s. These are a lot more rounded and a lot more raw and rigid and shit. But yeah, they're kind of it's a nice update. It's kind of like a winterized version of the ones I had. The ones I had were fucking a lot more, I don't know, maybe a lot more casual, a lot more, you know, a lot more smart casual. I think the other ones are a lot more winterized looking wise. Especially they're kind of all weather versions of the Tom Sachs Mars yards. But I love them, man. I love the little rubberized toe at the front. I love the laces as well, the little detail of the laces with little ridges. There's a cork insole similar to the ones I had as well. The red pull tab is a nice little hit as well. And the little TU whatever heel counter is also a nice little hit. The sole's a bit different as well, if I'm not mistaken. The tread on the sole looks a lot more like a Nike Free sole. That tread looks a lot more Nike Free 3.0, 5.0 type of vibes there. And obviously you got the nice foam tongue that we all know and love. But yeah, nice shoe. Nice fucking shoe. Really gonna try to get a pair myself. No date specified. Oh, September 2025. Okay, so coming up. Allegedly gonna be $275 RRP. Fuck. They're gonna be $275. So how much would it be in the UK? Probably gonna be 250, 200. That's insane if that's true. Big up Hypebeast for the blurb. Tom Sachs announced just a few months ago that after resuming his Nike partnership, Nike Graph Yard Mars 3.0 is set for release in September. He also offered a complete breakdown of what to expect from the new iteration of the Sought After series. Now, following a mere teaser image, we have a complete set of visuals highlighting the sneaker. One element we not noted previously is that similar to the predecessors, a cork sock liner is accompanied by a mesh option as well, with both sporting scientific drawings in Sachs' handwriting. Release remains set for September, with special launch to occur via Nike. Yeah, they're probably going to do what they did last time. The last launch for the Mirage yards, they had like these cross training things where you could kind of go in and basically win a pair, if I'm not mistaken, where you did workouts. Basically, you did like CrossFit WOD type of things with kettlebells and whatever else it may be. So I wonder they probably might do a similar sort of thing going forward there as well. But I really like them. That's the original post courtesy of Tom Sachs Studio. It says they've got the oversized eyelets. There's a TPU heel clip, which is a 90 durometer. I don't know what a TPU heel clip does, by the way. What's the use of a heel clip? What is the use of a heel clip in a sneaker? What the fuck does a heel clip do? A heel clip or heel counter in sneaker provides support and stability for the heel, preventing slippage, improving fit and heel. Really? But it's in the back. It's on the outside and the back. How does that improve fit? Not sure about that. Nylon donning strap, lace keeper. There's a, what's that? Blucher open eye stay, TPU toe cap, which, okay, so it's not rubberized, it's actually TPU, which is a plastic. There's a polyurethane react foam, open mesh polyester, natural rubber outsole, cool. And oversized 5mm eyelets as well. And ribbed polyester laces, which I also like the look of as well. So can't wait for them to drop. Really excited for them to drop. Really fucking excited for them to drop. Cannot bloody wait. Anyways, my friends, that is it. That's been the Actual Zinger Show, episode number 906. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have your company as per usual. Thank you. For those of you who are listening to the show via the podcast app, please make sure to leave me a 5-star review on whatever platform that you watch this show on. That'd be greatly appreciated. Also, leave me a good old 5-star review. That'd be greatly appreciated. For those of you also listening via the podcast app, you should be listening to my tune of the day. My tune of the day is from the other Rihanna. That's my tune of the day. My tune of the day is going to be from Rihanna. It's a new song called Friend of Mine, courtesy of this Smurf movie coming out soon. So I guess all the rumors, all the pictures that we saw of Rihanna going to the studio and shit wasn't some new album that was due to come out. It was probably because she secured a big fucking bag from Disney for this Smurfs movie and she was getting to work. She probably doesn't like going to the studio. She's probably, you know, happy being a billionaire, selling fucking lip gloss and shit, hanging out with her kids, hanging out with Rocky. She probably has no interest in doing music. But when the Smurfs came calling, asked to produce a track, she stepped into the booth again. Which is, I think so. I think that's the reason why she was in the booth. Because I think we haven't seen pictures of her going to the studio since. But those pictures I remember seeing of her where she was in New York going to the studio, in LA going to the studio, I think she was making this track. It's called Friend of Mine. And I have to be honest, this fucking slaps. It legitimately sounds like a techno track. It sounds very techno inspired anyway. Very nice, which is funny because I would imagine Rihanna hasn't been to a nightclub in a long time, I'd imagine. I think her life's kind of changed. She definitely seems like a person who has like her phases. She had like a hot girl phase where she was outside, she was front row at the basketball fights, going to watch football games, going to parties, flying around with her friends. But now she's in her mum era. She's, you know, happy being a quote unquote wife to Rocky and shit and living that life of being a billionaire, selling makeup and everything else she's doing. But you don't really get the feeling that she'll probably be out in the clubs, which makes it even more impressive that she's been able to make a track like this. You know, someone that doesn't actually go out as much as before is still able to produce something of this type of level. It's pretty impressive. So I really like it. I'm not gonna lie, I love this Friend of Mine track. I've been playing it all day in the gym. Really fucking love it. Good little vibe. Again, giving me dark room vibes, giving me fucking techno, giving me open air vibes, giving me multi-sex type of vibes as well. That kind of, you know, like just, I don't know if it's called whatever. It's kind of, maybe it's not techno, maybe it's more of a housey type of thing, but whatever it is, I fucking love it. Check it out. Rihanna, Friend of Mine, courtesy of the Smurfs soundtrack. That is my song of the day. For those of you listening to the listening to the audio side of the pod. If you're watching the video side of the pod, unfortunately you won't hear that, but I will be starting the random show in about 5 to 10 minutes, so definitely jump over there for that fucking thing to start as well. But for now, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see the rest of you guys very, very soon on the random show. Take care. Peace. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.